everybody, and welcome back to All Things Pink. I have a very special guest with me today. This is Miss Brittany Rainbolt, and she's an interesting guest because she not only is an amazing woman, but a woman in recovery and someone who works for me. So I'm really excited. Please welcome Miss Brittany Rainbolt. So, Brittany, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Is Today we're going to celebrate women in recovery. So give me a little bit of your backstory.
Okay. Um, well, I was in active addiction for, you know, several years, on and off in my teens. Um, I was sent away to like a troubled teen um
Gotcha.
program when I was 15 for 9 months. And then, you know, I was good. And then in my 20s, through my 30s, I was in active addiction. Um, I have a son. He'll be 17 in May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's a really good kid. Um, so I came up to Frederick to get clean. In 2 days after my birthday in April 2022. So I work in recovery. I'm active in NA. I have a really strong network. I surround myself with, a lot of positive people, like both men and women. Um, so yeah,
Well,
that's
I
pretty
think it's
much.
really, yeah, I think it's really important. And you work, in this field, and you work for JRA, which is my nonprofit. And I will say, like, we do all kinds of things with that. We do peer support, we do outreach, you teach groups,
Yeah,
all kinds of different groups, actually, anger management, you've taught empowerment.
yeah,
Gosh, I don't even
our,
know what I've said. It's, oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that there's a lot of women around 40s or over 40 that are still dealing with these issues?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it stems from like, you know, a lot of things that happen when we're younger that we don't heal from. And if you don't heal certain wounds, they just fester and fester until you actually deal with the problem. I know I suffered from that. And when I've been in therapy like on and off since I was 8. And there's certain things that I would just deal with surface level and I wouldn't deal with the harder things because I didn't want to relive it. And it wasn't until I came up here and like really was, diagnosed properly. And then I stayed in therapy since then and have just been dealing with still surface level everyday things that I need to deal with because life still happens and like punches you in the gut all the time, whether you're clean or not. But you still have to deal with like the deeper, uglier, messier things. Or else it's still gonna come up in different areas of your life, and it's going to be harder to stay clean and stay sober. And life is just going to be harder overall.
So, what do you think is one of the most difficult things about being in recovery?
I think, I think several things. I think when you're in recovery and you work in recovery, um, you got to make sure that your working in recovery is not your recovery. So you have to make time for yourself.
Mhm.
And I had to find the balance in that, um, because I will work, 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 and not work on myself.
Right,
So I
right.
had to make sure I found the balance in that. Also finding time to be a mom. Um, and making sure that I do put my recovery first, but also, you know, um, make sure that I pour time into, relationships that, I had, wrecked kind of a little bit, that there was damage that, I mended those, and,
Yeah.
living amends and stuff like that. And I, make sure I try to do those. And also like making sure, that when I see I'm getting burnt out or like, I see the red flags or old behaviors coming up that I pay attention to those, when life starts to get hairy. Um, because I never want to bring problems that are coming up into the groups that I'm doing.
Oh,
you
of
know?
course. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I think that that actually stems for not just people in recovery, but like just people in general. I think there's a lack of awareness of ourselves
Mhm.
just across the board that we all get burnt out. I have to do the same thing. So it doesn't mean like that that's just people in recovery. This is just people in general. We all need to be, hella more aware of
Yeah.
ourselves. I like that you mentioned surrounding yourself with certain people. I think that's a really good piece of advice for anyone,
Yeah.
especially younger people, is to kind of be careful of like who do we put in our circle?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any mentors?
I do. I do.
Who are they?
Um, Kelly. Kelly is one.
All right, you have to say who Kelly is. So
Okay.
Kelly is this another
Yes.
amazing woman in recovery that
Yes.
also worked for me and is just a really close person. So
Yes.
I needed to
Ke-
clarify who that
yes,
was.
Kelly Moore. I love her. She was my mentor. I interned with her before actually working for you. Um, when she was doing women's empowerment at Solid Ground, she was the
Yeah,
first one, and then she was doing a peer group, women's empowerment, and she asked me to do a group, and that's how I started interning.
I remember all of
Yes, and
this.
she was like, "No, you should be in this field." And I was like, "Well, I want to. I just never thought I could." And she poured into me, and like it made such a difference in my life. It really did. Um, and Carrie, and then my friend Pat, like I thought I always had real friends. And there was only two women that I really consider real friends from like fourth and sixth grade that are still, I'm mending those relationships because they
Right.
never used. They were regular people. Um, and they were my true friends. And but until I got into recovery, like I always they were those people were never my friends. My friends now hold me accountable. They call me on my bullshit.
Right.
They tell me when I'm wrong and lovingly, but they're like, no, like this is your bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you're being ridiculous. Or, if I do have a problem, they're like, no, you're justified in it, So I know I'm like, okay, am I being ridiculous about something? I'll call and ask. They'll
Yeah.
tell me, or if I'm having a hard time, both my parents are gone. And from beginning of October until the second week in November, each week, so 6 straight weeks, I have death anniversaries each week.
Oh
And that's
gosh.
like the most difficult time for me. And each year, grief is different for me. Last year I was so angry. The year before I was so sad. And so grief hits me different each year. But I make sure everybody's aware of it. I share in meetings and stuff, and I'm just like, if you don't see me, you know, reach out, please,
Yeah.
because something's wrong. So I really try to make sure, um, I'm really self-aware, so I try to tell myself so that way, people know what's going on. So like I can't fall, you know. So I want to, catch myself ahead of time and like make sure my network knows because they support me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that that's really important. Obviously not just in recovery, like we need our tribe. Um, Carrie's been that same thing for me, so I totally get it. I'm
She's
like,
a total rock
well,
star.
yeah, because I'm like, I just need to vet something. Am I being crazy? Like, you don't want somebody who's just gonna tell you what you want to hear. You need people in that tribe to be like, you're totally screwing this up. Like, get yourself together. Let's go. Like,
Yeah,
I think that's a mentor is there to do that and to kind of guide you and be
yeah,
that example. And I think that's really important. And I think it's good for people to have very strong examples of what they want to be.
yeah,
Um, how does like being a mom in recovery, like you talk a little bit about, before recovery, like what it was like, to have a child or children, as a mom in that situation. As I know
yeah.
there's got to be these levels of guilt and things that you have to overcome. Like as a mom, period, we have guilt.
Hmm.
We're riddled with it all the time. So what is it like with that extra layer?
Yeah. So, um, I maintained for like a long time. You know, I maintained for a long time. Um, but I wasn't very present, and then my mother and then my son's father, his mother, they got cancer a month apart and they died
Oh,
2 weeks apart.
wow.
My mom was in South Carolina, so I went down there for from January to May to take care of her. And Devin was up here with his father.
Yeah.
So we moved back up here in May. Um, and so it was after they had died in October is when the 2019 to the beginning of 2021 that I really wasn't present alive. I saw him every couple months because I couldn't be there for myself. I just completely because my his grandmother, Carmela, she was like my second mom. You know, we were really close. We butted heads, but she didn't have any cut cards. I loved her dearly. Um, but I had a lot of guilt and shame. But Devin recovered with me. We, he had to see me get better to kind of trust me again. And now, um, I would go down there and my sister would pick me up, and a friend of the family. I would go down there for weekends and stuff. I would Zoom when I was in treatment with my counselor. Um, and Devin I mean, he's a mama's boy. He just wanted his mom.
Mhm.
I hurt him. I mean, that hurts me through
Of course.
therapy and like, stuff I've learned to like slowly forgive myself fully. Not yet. Yeah, that's
I think that's a work in progress.
it definitely is because I love him more than life itself, and like the fact that I caused any hurt for my kid, like breaks me. Um, but every morning, me or him text each other first, and then every night we FaceTime.
Okay.
And it was for a while. Like if I hadn't texted him by like 9, he'd be like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like slept in. Um, but yeah, so like he'll be like, "Can you wake me up in the morning?" He was like, "I'm tired," and so I'll call him or something. But every day, we're always talking or FaceTiming, and then when he's with his friends, he'll FaceTime me, and like I'll pick him up and his friends up, and we'll all go do stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't want to talk about when I wasn't there. He was like, "It doesn't matter. You're here now." So I'm hoping we can make amends maybe when he's older and he's ready.
Right, right.
But I think it's just too soon, or maybe he's too hurt to talk about it because he'll start to tear up, and he just doesn't want to talk about it now.
Mm.
So I'm hoping
He's
there's a
a
day,
man.
yeah, that he doesn't want to hurt my feelings. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, but I hurt your feelings. And he was like, Mom, I don't want to. And I have to respect that
Of course you
because
do.
I don't want to push and hurt him, you know. So I'm hoping just maybe when he's older we can. But yeah, through therapy and what I'm doing now, I'm trying to make living amends, and I'm there for him all the time. Like I had to work Friday, and then I got off, drove down to Annapolis, picked him up, we went out to dinner,
Mhm.
then went to my sister's house and stuff and drove all the way back to Frederick to be at work at 10 the next morning. So, I mean, trying to go to all of his games, doing whatever I can for him, and he knows he can always count on me now. I'm reliable, and he can
Mhm.
count on mom now and he knows it.
I think
Um,
that's amazing, and I think that that kind of forgiveness and that kind of repair is possible.
yeah. And I try to tell people that in my groups when I hear, and a lot of my groups are more men. And then when they're
Mhm.
talking about their little girls or just like their family and stuff, and I'll tell them about my story and like with my kid, and I'm like, it is possible, but you can't just jump in and be dad right now.
Right,
Even with
right.
my son's father, I couldn't make decisions. I'm like, I'm clean now. And then I had to like humble myself and be like, I just got clean. I have to show that, I'm reliable and that this is going to
You have to
stick.
earn that
Yeah.
trust back,
So after
for
the first
sure.
year and, we had to, we were signing Devin up for this, you know, fancy private school, then I got, I had to do all the paperwork, which, my son's father's mom would normally do and stuff. And he's given me all his tax information, social security, all this, access to his W-2s, his works login and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I had to stop and think, I'm like, this is trust because I could steal his whole identity. But I mean, I was like, okay, like it was like it was a beautiful moment for me because I'm like, okay, this is trust. This is letting me in to do
It's
the
like a little
things now.
piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we co-parent really well now. Um, and I think our moms would both be proud of us for working together
Of
on how we're like
course.
raising Devin now.
That's awesome. Um, and it's really brave to talk about that. I think it's a good example of what we try to teach, with the classes and the groups that we're doing, and you're living that. And I think that that's always important
Yeah.
to be someone that people can look up to because you're actually doing what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, do you think there's a difference between women in recovery versus men?
I do. I do.
In what way is it either more difficult or challenging for a woman, or maybe not difficult or challenging for a woman versus a man?
I think men and women have different challenges, right? Um, because like women and how they're programmed and men how they're programmed and stuff and just societal programming
Hmm.
and like the norms. I think we have different wounds that we have and stuff like that. And women and like when we have children and how we feel and how we're like we're supposed to be the moms, and like we're supposed to be there or versus dads. And like if they have children and stuff like that, like just seeing how they talk about their kids and
Hmm.
stuff like that, and how they're supposed to be there and how dads are supposed to provide and be the protectors and all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
you're referencing the kind of like the design.
Yeah.
Women are naturally nurturing. Men are
Hmm.
supposed to. It actually there's some gray areas in there. All the energy is
Yeah, there
tend to
are.
get like.
Because then there is, I know a lot of guys that get out and they have custody of their kids versus the moms don't and stuff. But um, a lot of the guys, they're ready to get a job or, you know, get out there and they don't want to just sit around and wait or be in treatment and just, you know, work on themselves for a little bit.
I think
Uh,
that has to do with the design of not being vulnerable.
yes.
Like.
Yeah, but I have seen a lot of difference too, where some guys are just released and are ready to be vulnerable and just surrender and just they're
Mhm.
like, I can't keep doing,
Yeah.
you know. But I've seen a mesh of it all in my groups. I think it really all depends on the individual.
Hmm.
But I think guys versus men versus women, they have their own we have our own set of struggles, but each individual has their own set of struggles too, depending on circumstances and family structures and you know kind of the wreckage that we've made for ourselves, and what we're willing to surrender to heal ourselves and get better. Because I went to treatment twice. Well, I went 3 times, but the 3rd time it stuck because I decided to surrender, stay for 2 months willingly, and then
Yeah.
go to PHP and then go to sober living. Um, so I think what I was willing to do for myself and to really give in, and because I just wanted to get better and to really be a better person, be a better mom, and
Mhm.
actually build a different life because I just couldn't keep doing it.
So, with your job, do you see a difference in how the clients or facilities or anything kind of, I guess, accepts you as a female versus a man? Do you think that there are advantages to being female or challenges? Like, how would you kind of describe that?
I think there are advantages and disadvantages. Um, I know one of my first groups at the DRC when I walked in, I think that was just at an individual. They were like, okay, well, why should we listen to you? Like, they were like, what's your story? So the first part of my group, I was kind of like telling about my story, and I'm like, okay, I've been through this and here's why. So after that, they respected me. I'm like, okay, what can you teach us?
Yeah.
So after that, everybody was open to what I had to say and what I had to teach. And they were respectful. So
Yeah.
um some of the men's groups, they can over sexualize a woman,
Yes.
so you have to demand respect in a respectful way. And once you do that and they see you're not going to take it, I've only had one person do it. And then once I called them out in front of the whole group, and I was like, but what do you have to say? And they were like, they apologized. And that's only happened once. But I think,
I feel like that's common though. I
yeah,
feel like unfortunately we're still living in a time where we have to do that occasionally. Thank God it's
yeah,
occasionally. I mean, I can imagine many, many years ago, this was all the time. Well, you wouldn't have
yeah,
had any of this or had the opportunity to do this. But I've always felt that whether it's recovery in the addiction field, the mental health field, and even being an advocate, that women have an advantage simply because we can show empathy and emotion
yeah,
like that. Those feelings we're able to do that, or what we were designed to be able to be nurturing. So it makes
yes.
it that much easier.
Hmm.
And you find it's more whenever I have an open position, I can tell you already, hands down, I might have one guy,
Yeah.
like one guy, that has like that even has the desire to do this.
Yeah.
Plus, it is so hard. And I would not say, I mean, the benefits are outrageous when you realize how many people that you help in a day or even in a week or a year.
Yeah.
Um, we serve over like 3,000
It's a lot.
clients in just a year. And we've been upwards of 6,000 at times. So, but I think that that would be an advantage. But then, do you think that there's I always say the downfall is because for the same reason, because we are nurturing, we end up, I think, not being able to shut it off, like the emotions. Like we get,
Yeah.
we're all like become attached. Almost like, don't name it, like don't name it. We're gonna end up taking it home, like
Yeah. Sometimes depending on the situation you can. But I think sometimes that's why guys get more vulnerable with a woman, because with a man, I think it's like the alpha alpha kind of thing. But with a
yeah.
woman, that like, I had guys open up about like some horrific things and they feel more comfortable because we're nurturing. So I think
Yeah.
that's there's been beautiful moments, and then that's caused like a chain reaction. Like, yes, that's happened to me too, me too, me too. Taking it home, I had a gentleman pass away, and I found out 5 minutes before I got to group. So I'm like,
Oh
okay,
man.
whatever I had planned, scratch it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about it, and work on like how do we feel, and like the group. So
Yeah.
that was hard. Um, that was really hard.
I can see that. Like I've had those moments,
Yeah.
whether it was in the prisons or in a treatment
Yeah.
center, and you basically have to pull yourself together
Hmm.
like in a second.
Yeah.
And like you're like, all right, I'll take a knee later.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in here and do this. I mean, I think that
It's hard to learn how to cut it off, but
oh yeah, for sure.
you have to find a way. And it took me a little bit to find that. But like my mentors helped. Um,
Of course.
because you get burnout really fast and you get compassion fatigue.
Yes. Oh my God. It's exactly what I was talking about. Like that you're just exhausted from doing all of that all day. But we do that in general
Yeah.
as women. We're already the moms and the caregivers, and for whoever it is,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're like the animal rescue, and you're the this, you're that, and you're balancing different jobs and multiple jobs sometimes. I know I do.
Yeah.
So the fatigue is like on so many levels. So,
Mhm.
but we continue to take it on. So it's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
what do you think is the most rewarding part of working in recovery?
Knowing, that I make a difference and that, there's so many people that I still remember that has helped me and touched my life and and made me want to do this work. Cause I know like if I didn't meet those people and didn't feel like the compassion from them, the empathy and hearing their story and knowing the difference they made in my life, I could have gone a different way. Um, Knowing made a difference. I changed someone's perspective, and I helped them. Like that's so touching. Like that just makes my heart happy. Like that makes a difference in my life. Like giving away what was freely given to me. And that's the whole point of like living this life and changing my life. And, that's what makes me want to do it.
I always say it feeds my soul.
Yep.
And as much as tired as I am and as exhausting as it can be, and all of the challenges, at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't do anything different.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
are some of the funniest? And I know that we have funny things that happen. Like, what is just an example of some like the most outrageous thing working in this field that you have heard? Don't mention anyone's names. We're not allowed to do that.
Yes.
And these are not like confidential things. I mean, I've had some doozies, like
Yeah.
I will tell you, not really in like groups or classes like that I've ever been in, but it's mostly like usually from either my incarcerated folks who I love, don't get me wrong, but asking for things or mailing me things. I've had that where
I remember the letter.
oh my gosh, yeah, we do get some very interesting correspondence
Yeah.
from people.
I got a love note dropped into my bag and business cards, right? So like
Yeah.
for case management, I hand out my business cards.
Oh god.
Well, I got a text message the next morning talking about, you mentioned my last name, like, Rainbolt, can you be my sunshine on this cloudy day? Did you get my note? I was like, who is this? And what note? And all it said was check your work bag.
And now we're gonna talk about boundaries.
Yeah.
And I get it, like I do understand, but like
Yeah. I
we,
blocked I blocked the number.
yeah, it happens, or just inappropriate. That what I would say is inappropriate
Yeah.
behavior.
I had to talk to a supervisor.
Yeah, that's the kind of that happens a lot, like a lot more frequently, I think, than people realize. We deal with people just going completely off the rails.
Yes.
People I had somebody like jump over me in the courtroom before and like get chased down the street. Like, I mean, there's been things and I feel bad because they're not in a position where they can mentally like handle anything. But here we are and we're doing this. And you're kind of like, what
Yeah.
is happening?
You never know where someone is mentally if they have some sort of, diagnosis that some people seem completely normal, you know,
Yeah.
and then sometimes they break or. Um, but yeah, like when I went through peer school and stuff, and you have to be ethical, and that you have to do the
Yes.
right thing when no one's looking. That's the important part. Everyone's going to do the right thing when people are looking. It's
Right.
when they're not looking. And I am not for any way, shape, or form, going to risk my job, this career I want, my life, for anything. I'm just not going to do it. Like maybe me an active addiction, would do
Well,
some
yeah,
things, but
but then
now I'm a different person. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that at all.
well, I think bad choice making skills are just kind of like the name of the game
Mhm.
in active addiction.
Absolutely.
Like I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's like reel this in. Okay. Like, this is like, and we laugh about it, like, and we make light of it, but sometimes these bad choice making skills result in massive damage.
Yeah.
Um, was some of the frustrating things that happen
Um,
in the job?
yeah, I think when I've had times where people were being vulnerable and then you have another, you know, member of the group, and instead of, when someone's sharing, they'll share something, very negative. And I'm like, okay, we got to shut it down, because we respect everybody in their share, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't share and tell somebody else what to do. You share about what you need to share about.
Right.
Like, we're not gonna do that and, like, basically, crap all over somebody else's experience and what they feel. Like, we're not going to do that. So a lot of times, if I know it's kind of like a group like that, or we have new people, I go over rules and we're like, we're not going to interrupt somebody when they're talking. We're not going to tell them what to do, because guess what? We're all in the same situation right now.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, you're not further along than each other. We're all in the same place. So you have to be
Exactly.
respectful. You have to be respectful. So I think that's hurtful towards other people. And, like, you're all in the same place. So how about, like, lift each other up, empower each other, and y'all will all have a better experience.
Well, I feel like, okay, but I think that people in general do this. So you're talking about a population of people that already feel lower than human,
Hmm.
so they're already in this place. And to have that being done by, your peers is really bad when they already believe that society feels that way. And that actually is true. Um, I know that the work that you do, and that the organization does, reaps extremely high success rates. When we're less than 10% recidivism, like, we're doing something pretty good. So I know it's frustrating when, and as everybody knows, a nonprofit relies on funding, and oftentimes we've experienced our funding being cut. So we have to cut programs. For me, that's one of my most frustrating things about this job and this realm, is that it's almost like a devaluation of the amazing work that not just the organization, but people like you are doing. We're like, you're out in the trenches, like, you're actually the ones out there doing that work, and have that direct contact with people, and making or breaking their lives. Like,
Yeah.
you're actually physically taking a life-saving tool, or the Narcan, or a resource, or whatever. You're literally physically giving it to that person, and it gets devalued. I don't know, I think I might be a little bit more snarky about it, but it's true. Like, when our funding gets cut, like, we have to choose who we
Yeah.
help. And for me, that's like a moral frustration. Like, what do you mean I gotta choose, or I gotta cut one of my people, or, who's been loyal and faithful? Like, I know that's been frustrating for you guys.
Yeah. It was. It was definitely frustrating for all of us. Yeah. I know it was frustrating for you too. We were just like, what? Like, and now it was a lot. I know it was a lot for you guys too. Um, I just understand how they can say, like, it's such an epidemic. So many people are dying, and going down. Like,
And it's still happening. It hasn't, like, as much progress as we've made, even just like in your experience with what you're seeing. Do you see that there's still a really vital high need
yeah,
for these kinds of
absolutely.
services, peer services, groups, classes, treatment services?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, when I go to Hagerstown, like every
Hmm.
week, I see it. Like, you can just drive down the street, one street, but drive down several, you'll see it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a zombie apocalypse. Like, several other places, all over Maryland. Like, not even just here, you know?
In other states, we
Yeah.
see it on social media, we see it in the news, and we see a lot of nonprofits that are struggling to survive in this climate, that are doing amazing, amazing work.
Yeah.
Like, this is work to literally save people's lives and save their families and their children and the communities. The economy is affected by it. So, um, that it's really still high, like
Yeah, it's
it,
definitely a
it's
need.
yeah. So, I know that it's always very frustrating, but we work really hard to continue that. What would you say to younger women who are facing issues of addiction? Like, if you could sum it up, what would you say to them?
I would take a look, at older women in active addiction and ask yourself if you want to be that, if you want to have those problems, the same chaos that you're going through. If you have children, do you want your children to live this life? Because if they're going to see that and grow up with that, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be that as well. Because they're going to know that.
Mhm.
They're going to live that life. They're going to follow that.
Would you advise them that recovery is possible?
Absolutely. My family counted me out. Like, I woke up one day and I was just like devastated. The feeling of fear, like I've never felt fear like that in my life because I had nobody left. Not a single person was talking to me in my family. And I was with somebody that I was in an abusive relationship with, and I was just like, I only have myself. Because like I can't live like this anymore. And it scared me to death because I was like, I have to do it myself. Couldn't rely on anyone. So I called the treatment center I went to,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Can I come back?" And they were like, "Come Thursday." I was like, "Yes." And I just went and I packed everything, everything. And the person I was just like, "You don't have to pack everything." I'm like, "Yes, I do." Threw my trash
It's
bag, and I was like, "Help."
it's time.
Yeah, and I never went back.
Yeah.
Never. So I have not. I live here now because I knew I could never move back there. People
Right,
visited
right,
me.
right. Yeah, and I think it's important. I think that's really important for people to see the success stories and to be surrounded by stronger people, um, because it is possible,
Yeah,
and it's okay to be at that point where, like that breaking point. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to ask for help. And I think that's really hard for people.
it is. I know a lot of people that are scared to ask for help, but if you're not in a position to help, you need to ask for help because that's the only way, and then someone helps you, you get to a point where you can help somebody else.
Mhm.
That's how this whole thing works. Like, that's how this whole thing works. And
And I love when people that are ready, people that have gone through all of this, help others as long as they're ready to do it.
absolutely.
Because we have had those experiences
Yeah.
where somebody is like totally not where they want to, and I love it, but they're like so not ready to do
Yeah.
that. But when they are, I just, it's so much more effective.
Mhm.
It works so much better,
Yeah.
and I think it's so empowering.
Absolutely. Because you have to be honest with yourself about, are you ready to do that? Because some people aren't ready for this.
Everything's like right in your face,
Right.
like every day.
Hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
think um, so what do you think is the greatest challenge in outside of recovery and all of like the realm of your job? What do you think is the greatest challenge for women today?
Lots of things.
So it's still lots of things, or
So,
you know,
the world as it is now, um, I think we're going backwards as a society. You know, like I feel like they want us back in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. Like we're losing our right.
yeah.
Women empowering women is getting stronger right now, but then you still have, women cutting other women down. I think the more women empower other women, the stronger and better we become. I used to, when I was younger, not be a girl's girl. And I think
Mhm.
the older I got, the more I realized, like, that's crazy. Like,
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 it's totally okay to celebrate it.
it is. And now, like, even women I don't know, if I see a woman like with a knot with, frown on her face and stuff, I'll
Mhm.
just say something kind or just like
Mhm.
compliment something I see on her that I like or something. Cause just empowering somebody, getting somebody to smile, a stranger, whatever, like it
Mhm.
makes a difference. And I've had people do that to me, you know.
Right, right.
So I just think that's a beautiful thing.
I think that we're still too competitive.
Absolutely.
I think that we're still trying to find our way, which is crazy to me. So, like, just like what you're saying, like every time we go forward, something keeps,
Pushing us back.
yeah, I'm like, we're not doing ourselves any favors. And when women do not support each other, we're kind of like nailing into that coffin. Like, why would we do that? There's power
Hmm.
in bringing all of us together. And it's honestly in recovery. And I've interviewed lots of people in transitional housing and treatment centers, and I love the women's houses the most because you see this sense of what we should be doing out here more so
Yeah.
in there. Like, they're spending that time building that, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I think you'll have some good ones and then some that are iffy,
Yeah.
But I feel like when you have like those empowerment groups,
Hmm.
it helps come together. Like any group I've ever done, I've always, pushed like raising the vibration, raising the energy, raising the frequency, like coming together because why fight over catty, petty stuff? Like that does not matter. That does
At the
not
end of the day.
matter.
Yeah.
Like healing yourself, coming together, like you could have such a better like energy, house flow, vibe.
Better life.
Exactly. If y'all just empower each other, because when I was in sober living, we had such a great house. And when I went to the other house, because we're coming in for funding, and I was already paying regular rent, you know, the other house had a great house. Like
Hmm.
every night we were all in the living room, like kind of like talking about the day if we were going through something, helping each other
I
through
think
it.
it's easier for women
Right.
to do that though. Like, I feel like we were just like built to, so why not, tap into your strengths and do
Right.
that for all of us because it's easier. If oftentimes I believe that people in recovery are misunderstood. If you have not gone through it, like, you really don't flip it now.
Yeah.
Like, so what is one thing that you wish people knew about recovery?
Um, I feel like people that don't know feel like every single addict is the same, you know? And that's not true. And they also like they just don't understand like the strength that it takes to recover, the strength that it takes to stop. Um, and then where it comes from, they're like, oh, you just wanna, drink or do drugs all the time. And it it stems from so much more. Like the hurt, trying to numb the pain, trying to run away.
ACEs, childhood traumas.
Exactly. Like so much more is underneath just being an addict or a person in recovery, and like it's a stereotype.
No.
And my stepdad, even my youngest sister, because my middle sister's in active addiction,
Hmm.
I have to kind of like explain things to them because they don't understand why she doesn't just stop. Why can't she do what
People
I
ask that
did?
question all the time.
Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, she knows what to do. She's been in treatment, but she never healed.
Right. So one time somebody said to me, "Thank you for helping people like us." And I had to stop her. And I said, "I help people, not there is no just people like you." It's, I really hate that. I hate it because then it just separates them and it actually makes it harder for people to heal when they're continually being put in this little corral out here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed into here. And then I say, well, it's kind of the same. People are jerks too. People like them. Like, so, and that usually stems from almost the same things as addiction comes from. They just decided to be a jerk instead. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, which one's worse, right? So I mean, it's a very common, what you bring up is a very common misconception. We hear it all the time. And so I really appreciate you coming on today and talking about your story and talking about, you know, recovery and what you do. You're one of my best employees. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate everything that you do, and it comes from the heart. And I know that. So, um, and thank you for braving this and talking about everything on our show. And thank you guys so much for watching All Things Pink. Don't forget that we post weekly. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching this right now on YouTube, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of my really cool guests and the cool topics that we talk about. Also, you can find us on our website at allgreatthingsllc.life, Life. Check out all the other channels that we have and wellness programming. Thank you again, and can't wait to see you next time.
You gotta get out there and explore, baby, let your love